In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, I bear witness there's no God but God, and Prophet Muhammad is his slave and messenger, and I seek refuge in Allah from the rejected Satan. In this video, I'd like to discuss how Imam Mahdi, the Mashiach, would deal with the Palestinian situation. Obviously, if you've been paying attention to the news, what's going on, Palestinians have been murdered for protesting the move of the U.S. Embassy into Jerusalem. We know the Palestinians have been oppressed for a very long time. They're basically prisoners there. If they get anywhere near to the borders of their prison, they're getting gunned down. Obviously, we sympathize with the Palestinians. What the Israelis are doing, the Zionist Israelis are doing, is immoral. And as Allah says in the Quran and also in the Torah, that if you kill one human being, it's like you kill all of mankind, and if you save one human being, it's like you saved all of mankind. So they're really killing mankind here. There's just not some Palestinians have been killed. They're killing all of mankind here, according to Allah, the unique creator of all that exists. So let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture here. There's a triad of evil here that I see. It's the deviant Muslim sect of Wahhabism that's centered in Saudi Arabia, headed by Salman, and then you have the deviant Judaism sect of Zionism in Israel, headed by Benjamin Netanyahu, and then you have the deviant Christian sect, the Antichrist American corporate government, headed by Donald Trump. So, as we know in the Quran, Allah says that all nations have an allotted time, so we know that these nations will not exist at some point in the future, that all nations have a certain set time of their existence, which is a blessing. Most of all countries are corrupt, as we know in the time of Imam Mahdi, that the whole world will be filled with corruption, and we can clearly see that. Anybody who's got eyes to see and ears to hear can see that the whole world is filled with corruption. Every government is a corporation and is very evil. They run on interest debt-based slavery system. They print more and more money, which is devaluing our wages, our savings. Our taxes are predominantly going to pay interest, which is forbidden by Allah, the unique creator of all that exists. So these governments are criminal organizations, as far as I'm concerned, and the biggest criminal organizations of the world, as the way I see it, is the Triad of evil: the Israeli Zionist sect, and then the Wahhabi Saudi sect, and then the Antichrist American sect. Is a triad of evil. The axis of evil is what I see clearly, and most people, I'm sure, would agree. So how would Imam Mahdi deal with the situation in Palestine? So if we want to know how Imam Mahdi, the Mashiach, would deal with the situation, we have to go look at the perfected book by Allah, which is the Book of Bliss, the Noble Quran. And we'll have to look at the Surah of Joseph. He was wrongfully imprisoned, and we know that the Palestinians in Gaza are a prisoner in their own land. They cannot flee. If they get too close to the border of their prison, they will get gunned down. As we know, Allah says in the Quran, if you kill one human being, it's like you kill all of humanity, and if you save one life, it's like you save all of humanity. That's also in the Torah. The Jews should be familiar with that as well, and it's quite evil what's going on. So what did Yusuf do when he was wrongfully in prison? The story of Yusuf, that he was thrown in a well and then was sold by his brothers to some Egyptian slave traders, and then sold in Egypt, and then was a servant for a high-ranking minister in the Egyptian kingship or government or something along those lines. And his master's wife tried to put the moves on him, and he refused and was wrongfully accused of idolatry or attempt of idolatry and was thrown in jail. And he stayed there for several years patiently, even though he was wrongfully accused. He stayed there very patiently and waited for the blessings of Allah to come. So he never gave hope in Allah. He knew Allah was always going to be there for him. And as I see it, what Imam Mahdi would do as advice for the Palestinians is to stay patient. We know that you've been wronged. You're being oppressed. You're being murdered. But we need to take a page out of Joseph, to stay patient, to never waver, to always stay strong in Allah, to be patient, and to be non-aggressive in this situation. You know, the IDF is quick to pull the trigger and kill Palestinians. It's really terrible to see that going on in the world. So that's my advice to the Palestinians through the Quran, what I believe Imam Mahdi would do as advice for the Palestinians is just to be patient, make dua, you know, may Allah protect the Palestinians, take Allah as your shield, stay patient, and Allah will set you free. It's only a matter of time. Now, to look at it from a bigger picture, every country of the world is just a corporation, and the Palestinians need to see that the U.S. Embassy is actually a curse. It's actually a cancer, you could say. It's full of red tape and bureaucracy and control mechanisms. I know the countries at some degree have some goodness in them, but there's quite a large amount of evil that goes on, as I say, in these corporate countries, with the interests, with the fiat currency that they just keep printing more money. It's a debt-based, interest-based slave system, and these embassies only to reinforce this. So if Jerusalem wants to take the U.S. Embassy, and moving it from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, take that as a blessing from Allah, removing that cancer from your lands into Jerusalem. If they want to celebrate and cheer that they're getting this cancerous thing, let them cheer for it. Let them be happy about that. Don't get caught up in the drama. And that's exactly what the axis of evil, the Zionists, headed by Netanyahu, the evil sect of Judaism, of Zionism, that's exactly what he wants to trigger you to escalate the conflict, and will give him more grounds into a more offensive position. So the way I see it, Imam Mahdi would ask for the Palestinians to restrain themselves like Yusuf did in prison, even though it will take quite a bit of time, I'm sure, but to stay patient and hold on to the rope of Allah. It's the month of Ramadan. We shouldn't be fighting in this month. It's a holy month. We're forbidden to fight. We should be peaceful. We should be patient. And my prayers go out to the Palestinians. May Allah protect them and guide them. And may that be resolved. May the Israelis and the Palestinians realize that they're brothers in humanity. Allah says in the Quran that all nations have an ending point, that no nation will last forever. So the state of Israel, the state of Palestine, all these states will not exist at some point in the future. Allah wants one humanity under one God. We'll become one global country or state. We will all eventually become one under one God, the unique creator of all that exists. So we need to overlook our differences. Allah says in the Quran that all the diversity in the world is a sign from Allah, so we need to appreciate the Palestinians, we need to appreciate the Israelis, we need to appreciate all the different variety of humanity in the world. And please have some restraint, have some patience. We know you're being oppressed and wrongdoing, and Allah will come to your aid, inshallah. Thank you so much. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon all the believers and all of us, and may Allah protect the believers, protect the Palestinians in Gaza, protect all the Muslims, all the believers, and all the multiverse. May Allah guide us, give us light, knowledge, and understanding of our current situation, and may the light of Allah be with you. Peace.